Falling from grace, no one likes it, no one wants it, but it happens, especially the villains. Villains are key to a hero, even when simple. Make plan to take over planet, hero stops them, repeat. But if your villain feels weak, then there's no struggle. Little things can affect progress, Japanese footage, budget, lack of motivation, concerns from outside sources, you name it. These characters had some great or interesting starts, but over time they got lost or in the worst case dried up. They didn't feel scary, their story had no ending, which sucks, especially if the Sentai came up with something cool and never being used. Thanks goes to Ben Smith for the suggestion. If you have an idea or topic you'd like me to cover, leave a comment below. I might use it in a future video. Captain Mutiny. He had his place in Lost Galaxy. They needed to use the footage from Gingaman. It was a decent arc and a refresher for the season, you know. It gives a chance to build up Trakina in the background. But ultimately, he couldn't go beyond being a filler, which was disappointing. The main problem was how late they put him in. I really think he could have been an asset to Trakina, bringing him in early. He could have explained how they find Terraventure, no matter how many times they attempt to avoid them. He's in a different dimension after all. It would explain some of the design choices, act as the first sign of Trakina moving on and taking full control of her father's forces without help. Stuff like that, while retaining everything in the series as is. It's a common problem PR wrestles with. You got this load of monsters that you could do almost anything with. It sucks when things like Captain Mutiny get pushed to the side. Mara. This is an odd choice, but out of all the generals for Lothor, Mara was the most useless one right from the beginning. You could put some blame on Hurricaneer for that, but I don't really agree entirely. Ravi Jo was the bookie of the team. She had a comedic role, just like Mara. However, she handled paperwork, reports, all those technical things a job would entail, which gets melded into episodes, so she got used better. With the exception of 2 episodes, Mara just became second fiddle to Capri in a sense of compy. Mara would just be there to say jokes or to screw up. There was no redeeming factor for her. I always wondered why they kept her there. It was the same problem with Chupo. They could have done original things with her. The writers could have delved deeper into the family part of Cam and Sensei. She could have been that bridge, have her torn between Lothor and Cam. That way, the change to going good was more worthwhile rather than defaulting to being scared of Lothor and just saving her butt. Why would Sensei accept her into the Ninja Academy like that? I don't know. Zen-aku. In this case, copying Gowranger was a fail because PR fell into the same problem they did. The whole season was about revolving villains, Zen-aku being the best one. That got removed too freaking quickly. When he was so important to Merrick, he lived in his body, trapped in his sleep for thousands of years. You could see the crazy stuff that was going on through Merrick. Merrick probably didn't know what thoughts were his. Something simple like cherries, what if that was Zen-aku's favorite? That's what I saw when seeing Merrick fight where he fits in, but he never really faced his demon. That's a story I didn't want to tell? I mean, really? The same goes for Zen-aku. How much has Merrick influenced him? We know he's not pure evil anymore. It was a really interesting origin story for the Sixth Ranger, but it gets dumped. That's really why Wild Force failed. Looking at everything, all the things they set up, origins, personalities, mystery, it's all there. It's quintessential PR, but they never went all the way with the ideas with the exception of Master Orc. Who really knows why? It could have been because that's what Gowranger did, or this is how the writers were affected. Maybe at the start they were gung-ho, but then they got to the news that Disney was unsure on the property, so they just took the easy way out. Zeltrax. There's not much to say that I haven't said already. The premise of this character was a good way to start because Zeltrax is the bridging piece for Tommy and Mercer, but we never got the whole picture. What did happen between 1997 and 2000 when Anton turned into Mesogog and Smitty turned into Zeltrax? Those pieces could have been elaborated on over the season. This replaces Asuka's story in Ranger. There was literally nothing stopping the writers to tell this, but Zeltrax fell into the trope of being the lackey. In some ways, it's ridiculous. When Elsa, who's the PR-only character, got more to do. Which is not a bad thing, but it's not fair. You had 2 characters, one being tied to the almighty Tommy, and that's all you wanted to do with him? I'm not saying Zeltrax had to be Jason or some other nonsense, nor do I want Elsa to be ignored over him, but Smitty easily could have explained things. take elements from Tommy's backstory. Maybe he felt almost like his brother. Maybe they met during his race car career, eventually leaving that because he saw the potential Tommy had. Smitty could have been the one who encouraged him to become a paleontologist. These things could explain why Tommy shifted so abruptly. Maybe Smitty found out he was a ranger and that's where the jealousy started. The writers could have gone into many directions, but he ended up on the chopping block. 2 times if you want to argue the dino charge use of the suit for Snide.
King Mondo.
I wasn't against King Mondo being killed off for Prince Gasket. The biggest issue was that this was the first time PR finally got new villains that replaced Rita and Zedd. The thing is, footage issues. They didn't really know what to do with the Machine Empire. If you pay attention to the footage, lots of it is recycled. Characters are very basic. They didn't want to use the Sentai stories. That potential of being new was there. Huge army compared to Rita with a bunch of goons trapped in a dumpster. We finally see a competent enemy with new ideas. Then he dies in the middle of the season. I'm like, okay. He just fell into the same problem as Rita and Zedd. Menacing was such a problem in these years. The moment Zedd was complained about, all the villains up to Divatox had to be idiots. It's probably one of the factors why people stopped watching. It's more of the same. It didn't feel impactful enough. Funny how when Astronema came around, the series got better and better, saving itself. That's the lesson the show has to always seem to learn. There has to be a fine balance of corny with drama when you go too far in either direction for a long period of time. Arguably, it stops being Power Rangers while Forever Red made a big stink about King Mondo this, King Mondo that. I was going, no, where's Prince Gasket and Arcturina's fan club? They had more personality than the King and Queen.
Sledge.
I've always said that it's extremely difficult to balance goofy and serious villains in Power Rangers. Sledge and his gang hit the mark right in the beginning. Kyoryuger is very, very comical. It can easily put people off the series. So some of that stuff has to be brought over. It's mainly isolated to Poisandra and Curio. I have no issues with that. Poisandra enables Sledge to become goofy, but is not goofy himself like, say, Elgar. That was good. He switched between the two and stayed menacing, but over time, this line kept getting less and less distinct, eventually turning into a joke. Instead of keeping him true to his character, he became this bumbling guy to the point of constantly failing. I give them credit when they made him go missing so they can set up the ending and try to make him evil again, but with that failing, Sledge never recovered. He's not the worst fall from grace, but it's a big blow to Dino Charge when it gets added on top of all the other stuff. It's why people get mad at Snide too. Same problems.
Lord Zedd.
The first villain that suffered this fate, and it wasn't because of the show. Anyone who grew up on MMPR, you remember the first time Mutiny premiered with Lord Zedd walking into the throne room, a new PR villain, no skin, chemicals pumping around his body, this crazy snake that turns into a staff. He wasn't the failure that Rita became, and for the first 10, 15 episodes, he was great. But as most popular things for kids go, parents have to chime in. He was too scary looking, gross with no skin. When we've had Gremlins films, Star Wars films, but Lord Zedd crosses a line. I'll speak for myself. I was 8 when I first saw Zedd. Scared was not on my mind. I wanted to see more of that snake. I wanted to see him fight. I wanted to know what that goo was. What monsters would he make? I wanted him to be the villain that pushed the Rangers to their limits. It didn't last long. Zedd became more and more of an idiot. Failing doesn't do that. Look at Astronema, Diabolico, and Mesogog. These characters fail all the time, but they stay menacing. What's worse, when Master Vile came in showing up Zedd and Rita, I'm going, this guy, who's temporary, is way more cooler and creepier looking than Zedd. How did Rita become stupid when she has a father like this? And then it kept going and going. It became an actual gag. The movie, Ooze locks him in a snow globe. Zeo, they're stuck in a Winnebago on another planet, whining and complaining that Mondo took their moon. I wanted them gone.
Prince Vekar.
This was a problem that started from Gokaiger. The villains are the weakest part of that season. Super Megaforce did not help in any regard. I have my problems with Megaforce. Vrock is not one of them. He could have been used much better, but he was decent. I wish they had transferred over to his brother. I'm pretty sure Vekar never got original PR footage done, so they were stuck with the whiny problem he was in Gokaiger. The potential of Vrock and Vekar was there. That's a big backstory they could have elaborated on. Every now and again, there was bits in early episodes, but it wasn't meant to be. Even when Vrock came back, Vekar was dead. They missed an opportunity to have Vekar turn into a robot and help his brother. Like, that was the reason why Robo Knight was taken. I've come up with different ideas to bridge the two seasons. I'm like, why did the writers bother doing this when they could have just had Brock be the final boss in Megaforce, then move on to Super Megaforce and forget about season 1? They never felt linked. It was more like the old days of MMPR season 2, where you could see that awkward problem with Japanese and US footage cutting around the Die Ranger suits. PR, you have so much potential, but you don't do it. These seasons screw up because of things like this. I didn't mind Megaforce and Super Megaforce with one thing. I mean, the 40 episode count was horrible for this idea, but the thought was there. The Armada overall was disappointing when they could have improved on many things.
Jared Daishi.
Rio was so perfect in Geki Ranger. Flawed character, Melee gave him some light stuff, he still showed how tough he was, never fully turned to the good side, but became an ally. A good blueprint for Jared. I love the Jared Daishi merging idea. Like, cool, it would cause conflict between the two. Maybe it might be like Merrick and Zen-aku. Jared will break free or influence Daishi. No, it never happened. This connection, this bond of minds, Jared was ignored 99% of the time. With the exception of 3 episodes before the end, there was no point in this plot. I didn't feel any remorse to the character. That's a problem with not getting enough time to build this up. It's possible they could have had maybe the first 10 episodes where a filler monster came in as the first body of Daishi. While Jared was this loose cannon, he was trying to find his purpose after the claw was destroyed in the attack. We get to know him, see him interact with the Rangers, then gets possessed into Daishi. But without this, Daishi is just Daishi. This easily fits into the Geki Ranger footage. That's what annoyed me the most. Yellow Fury, I would say, is 70% there. It just needed some fixing with Casey and the bulk of it being Jared. If there was a personality and a genuine connection between Jared and Casey, I think I would have not hated Casey as I did. That's the most disappointing part of Jungle Fury with me.
Goldar.
Yeah, what other villain out there has given off a huge present, fought a Red Ranger, taunted him with his morpher, had a grudge on the Green Ranger taking his spot, got the power coin, stolen the Dragon Zord, and faithfully served 2 idiots, all to be washed up? I would argue Goldar could have replaced Zedd and Rita if given the chance. Goldar season 1 is almost another character compared to everything else. Evil, design's cool, mysterious, and the voice was perfect. But seeing him get worse and worse and being joined along with Rito, Bulk, and Skull, it hurt me. The characters isolated are all great, but when the writers went into this Four Stooges nonsense, they ruined him. I wish he was killed off. There was no footage left, there was no stories left, nothing. Goldar should have just disappeared. Given up on Rita and Zedd, got fed up with them and bailed. That would have been a better ending if they didn't want to kill him. Even in the movies, he couldn't catch a break. Was the same idiot in the 95 film and 2017's one. He didn't get to speak, was just a mindless monster. I'm like, is he cursed to forever be nothing? In a way, I'm happy Scorpina just vanished. They would have turned her into the same thing. There's a few other people that I considered, like Camille and Mesogog's ending. I think she still served her purpose well. She got more screen time anyway. With Mesogog, the final fight did suck, but that's not going to erase the 99% that was great about the character. I debated Fury, but he was far off worse all around to not consider him good at any point. What do you guys think? Did I miss anyone in particular? New episodes Mondays, fan commentaries Tuesdays. Next week, the best Lost Galaxy monsters. If you like my content, consider leaving a like and subscribing. Due to fair use abuses from the various companies, I no longer feature footage from the various episodes. Thank you for understanding. See you in the next video.